Okay, if you want to follow along this time, I'll try to do it a little bit slower, do one more chart. Okay. What I'm going to do this time is select these total expenses because I want to see what they're doing, but I'm not going to be very bright about my selection, and I'm just going to grab just that data from C18 to L18. And I'm going to insert a chart. But Volker, you didn't take any titles. I know. You didn't take any labels. I know. We're going to see what happens here. And I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to do a 3D bar chart. And notice what it's showing me down along the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just numbers. It's because I didn't give it any labels. But what if I don't recognize that and I say, you know what, no, I don't like it clustered. Let's do a line chart. Might be a little bit better. Line charts do a better job of showing time. Could do a 3D one. Yuck. How about that one? Okay, that's pretty good. Put dots on them, even better. And I say that's cool. And then I change the title. And I'm just going to put my name in there. You can do whatever you want. And I change here's a plot area. Notice that one is the plot area. You can tell by if I go into the formatting tab that here's my plot area versus my chart area, which is all the way around. So I can do the plot area. Remember from the first recording, how did he do all that stuff? You just right click, format. And here comes my helper. Fill. Nice solid color. I'll do a soft yellow if I can find one. It's kind of pukish green, but I'll go with it. Oops, had the wrong thing selected, so I'm going to undo. Yes, undo works all the way through. I'm going to select the plot area. There, I got it. I can tell because it says plot area up here. If you're not sure, just look up there. That gives me a chance to get rid of the puke green. That's good. And let's just go with the soft orange. And then over here, I can change the color of the chart area and make it a different color. But now I've done all this cool modification stuff and I realize that, uh-oh, I didn't get my labels. So how do I do that? To change the data that's in the chart, if you pick the wrong data or you forget the labels, you go to the Design tab, and here's a button to select the data. And when I click on that, I can see my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s here. That's not right. So I'm going to click on Edit. And then it's going to say, okay, if that's not the range, then what's the real range? It's this stuff up here. I can highlight it, drop it, and notice it's already changed my chart down along the bottom. So when you chart, if you pick the wrong data, you can modify the data that's used for the chart by using the Select Data button and modifying it instead of starting over. Hopefully you'll recognize that you don't have the right cell selected when you preview the chart, but if you don't, you can always go back and change it later. Last couple of topics. I'm going to switch over to, I believe it's the overview chart. Yep. In the overview chart, Excel, I want to say it's 2010, came up with a new thing called Sparklines. Sparklines are little itty bitty graphs that actually fit inside of a cell. To use them, you first highlight where you want them to go, and they've left us some nice room here. You first highlight where you want the graphs to go, insert, and here we have sparklines. There's 3 different kinds. There's a line sparkline, which looks like a line graph. There's a column sparkline, looks like a column graph. And there's a win-loss sparkline that looks like it's supposed to be used for stocks. If your stocks went up or down, blue is up and red is down. I think there's an example either in this unit Maybe it was last year where they used it to keep track of who won or lost baseball games. Just little itty bitty lines on how many wins did we have and how many losses did we have, and you can see it very quickly. So the first thing you do is select where you want them to go, all of them, and then what kind. I think I'll use a column chart or column sparkline. Read very carefully when you do the case problems and when you do the project to make sure you pick the right one. They'll say sparkline and you might come right here to line, but they'll say the column type sparkline. And it already filled in where do you want me to put them, but it didn't fill in what data do you want me to graph. And the book guided me on this one, so I'm going to collapse this. Remember this little red button here says get this dialog box out of the way temporarily. Just shrinks to a single line. And then I'm supposed to go to the estimated production, that's here, C6 to L11. So here's all the names again, C6 to L11. Those titles, Chardonnay, Riesling, Pinot Grigio, and so on, all correspond to what I had in the other chart. So this should work very well. And notice now I get bar charts, or column charts, excuse me. And what I'm supposed to glean from this is that Chardonnay started low and got bigger and bigger and bigger, and all the rest of these started with none and got bigger and bigger and bigger. You can also change that to a line chart while you're here. You can just change the style to line and see if that one suits you better. Maybe. I think I like column. And then once you're here, you can tweak this. These are, again, graphs drawn by Excel using some standard values. And if you don't like the values that it used, because it looks like they all ended up the same, and they didn't even come close. So what we can do is change the axis. That's this button over here. It's in the Sparkline Tools bar. Change the axis and change the maximum value. You can also change the minimum values. All kinds of stuff you can do here. But I'm going to use a custom value. And I'm going to say the maximum that I want is 3,500 because that's this maximum value over here. Click on OK. And now I can see that I'm selling a whole lot more Chardonnay than I am Riesling, and I can still see the progression as they go. Very handy. The final thing the book demonstrates that uses a graphing kind of technique is called data bars. And this one isn't in any of the graphing stuff. It's actually a conditional format. And we did conditional formatting in the first couple of units. We can conditionally format these to show a correlation between them using data bars. So I'm going to once again select the data first. Then, in the conditional formatting, choose data bars. Data bars come in different colors. If you don't like those colors, you can tweak them, but for most uses, they're just fine. I'm going to pick the blue gradient, and notice what it does in the preview down there. It draws kind of a bar graph sideways that shows me in relationship how big these numbers are. 27 is obviously bigger, 16 is smaller. So I'll go with the blue ones. And these, again, can be customized. The book author doesn't like the fact that this number is covered up, sort of. I picked a pretty decent gradient so I can still read it, but he doesn't like that the number covers up the bar. Just like we did with the Sparklines, we can set a maximum value for all of these. To do this, you have to go back to conditional formatting and manage the rules. This one's pretty tricky to find. You manage the rules, and then here's my rule that says give me a data bar on these cells. I want to edit the rule. I can set minimums, I can set maximums, and the maximum is what I want to change. Right now it's at automatic. I want to change it to be a number. And then what number? And I believe it said to use, I didn't tell myself, so let's try 35. What I'm trying to do is make the maximum number of these bars be big enough that it doesn't cover up my numbers. can try apply. If it doesn't work, I can tweak it. There we go. Now the 27 is still the biggest bar, but it's not covered up anymore. So 35 was a pretty good choice. And now I have data bars, and these look like little graphs. So there's lots of different ways in Excel to pictorially display your data. Pie charts, line charts, column charts. I didn't discuss a combo chart because the book never asks you to make a combo chart except in one of the more advanced tutorials or case problems. But a combo chart has a line chart and a column chart all mixed into one. I think they use a stock up and down and a line chart all in one. It's pretty complicated. The point is, it's a very powerful tool. If you want to display something pictorially, there's probably an easy way to do it. These little graphs, the Sparklines, let me compare numbers very quickly and see what's happening with my Chardonnay. It grew pretty quickly and is now the largest that we have. The others in correlation. I can see how many first label bottles or what price first label I'm charging for these things. And I can see a picture instead of looking at numbers. And that's what charting is supposed to do. So your job is to do case problem number 1. Turn that in. If you don't want to do it tonight, like always, you can turn it in before tomorrow. Go home and do it. Just don't forget. I think some of you are going home forgetting and go, oh, darn, I forgot, and now it's too late. So maybe you want to hang out because I'm done a little early for a change. And you need to do either the project for Excel 4 or the exam for Excel 4. And that needs to be done, as always, by Friday. Next week is the capstone project, so you can start that anytime. I think it becomes available here pretty quickly. If it's not already available, you can start the capstone. And I'll be here for 3 hours in case you get stuck. I can kind of help you with it, answer any questions. 2 weeks from today, we start Access. I'm guessing for most of you, that's going to be a new topic. Those of you that are software developers, very important topic. That's all for tonight.